In the twilight, Irina experienced sickness. She concluded that she was simply fatigued, and she would rest and recover in the AM. She retired to bed early. However, upon waking, she rose feeble, as though she hadn't slumbered at all. Her head was throbbing, and her legs lacked strength. I am unwell after all, she decided and phoned her workplace. She had a positive rapport with the manager. An intelligent head accountant, whom one can trust, is not easily found, so without hesitation, the manager permitted her to rest. And don't rush, recuperate, he said. Perhaps you'll call a doctor after all? Inquired her daughter, departing for school. No, I'll rest, and everything will subside, smiled Irina. Her daughter departed, and Irina ingested antiviral medicine, warm tea with honey, and reclined once more. She awoke at noon and felt significantly improved. The snow was falling heavily outside the window, as though winter had returned once again in the midst of March. The vivid brightness beyond the pane caused her eyes to ache. Irina reclined in bed, shielding her lids. How pleasant it felt to do nothing, not rush, and merely rest in bed. She started to drift back into slumber when the noise of a race was detected. Who might have arrived at this time? It's still early for Tanya. Yes, she possesses her keys. The neighbors are aware that she's at her job throughout the day. The gong resounded once more. I'm not present. You don't grasp it, do you? Irina whispered, hoping the unexpected visitor would depart. Nevertheless, the doorbell rang again. Irina got up reluctantly, slid her feet into flip-flops, draped a shawl over her shoulders, and proceeded to open the door. Through the peephole, she observed a portion of her shoulder and hat. Some woman was standing outside the door. Irina presumed it was from her workplace. Someone from accounting came to verify or sign papers. She unlocked the entrance and promptly recognized the visitor. And how could she erase the memory of her, if every day she witnessed before her only 16 years old? Tanya had the same azure eyes, the same plump lips. Only her hair was darker. And this one had discolored curls peeking out from beneath her hat. A little older and plumper, but otherwise the same. You? Irina shivered. 16 years ago she came to give, and now she came to take. You've realized? Irina wanted to slam the entrance. But the uninvited guest apparently guessed her intention and warned her to grab the doorknob from the other side. Will you let me in? The visitor asked in a husky voice. Why did you arrive? Instead of answering, Irina asked, looking wary, ready to slam the entrance at any moment. To talk. There's nothing to discuss. Irina pulled the handle, but the visitor held the entrance firmly. Yes, there is. About Tanya. What's there to converse about her? The train departed a lengthy time ago. You've entered to me. You overlooked. Irina glared furiously. The woman stretched her vividly painted lips in a taunting grin and jerked the door open abruptly. From astonishment and frailty, Irina let go of the doorknob, and the door swung wide open. At that moment, someone on the floor above stepped out onto the landing, and Irina stepped back into the hallway, permitting the guest to enter. It was not adequate for everyone to hear their conversation. The guest entered the apartment and looked around. I'm not asking for tea. Why are you so pallid, scared or sick? She asked mockingly. Disclose to me why you're here. Tanya will be back from school soon, Irina said, recognizing that she couldn't get rid of the uninvited guest. Everything hinges on you. If we accord rapidly, I'll leave, and if not, Tanya will know the veracity, said the guest hoarsely. The appearance of azure eyes penetrated with frigid coldness. Irina sensed the ache in the back of her head stir again. Leaning against the wall, she felt her legs could scarcely support her. So you've arrived for funds once more. Now you wish to purchase silence? Irina speculated, making an effort not to reveal her vulnerability and trepidation to her visitor. The blood-red lips responded with a chuckle. Correct. If you don't want Tanya to know the truth, pay, the visitor said sternly. I possess no money, Irina replied sharply. Discover it. The visitor wheezed indifferently. How much? Gasping, asked Irina. That's another discussion. That's better. The visitor named the sum. I require time to find such an amount. Irina was ready to do anything now, as long as the visitor departed as soon as possible. She felt like she was going to faint. All right, will 2 days be sufficient for you? What if I notified the police about you? Irina attempted to intimidate her. Proceed. However, you'll be held accountable as well. I'll state that it was you who proposed to reimburse me in the past. And how did you generate the records? Purchased? The visitor paused. I'll return the day after tomorrow. Once the door eventually closed behind her, Irina glided down the wall to the floor and whimpered. She'd always known, sensed this would occur. Her mother had cautioned her that such individuals wouldn't settle down, would blackmail. But what to discuss about it now? She had to contemplate where to acquire such a substantial sum of money. Irina got up from the floor, strolled across the room, and sank heavily on the bed. And why should I provide her money? She will come again after a while. I won't give her anything. Now Tanya will come back from school, and I'll disclose everything to her. Irina, after struggling in despair, decided. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. 19 years ago, an inexperienced and attractive engineer accepted a position at the plant, where Irina was employed as a bookkeeper. Irina promptly sensed how his stare caused every cell, every nerve to shiver, and her heart pained pleasantly. She noticed that he was experiencing the same effect. Whenever anyone entered the bookkeeping department, she immediately glanced up from the documents and sadly dropped her eyes upon realizing it wasn't him. Occasionally, they crossed paths in the cafeteria. Then, a week later, he encountered her at the factory's exit and accompanied her home. Her mother convinced Irina to depart from the factory and secure a position in a private company. The salary would be higher, and there would be more chances to find a wealthy spouse as well, but Irina hesitated to leave. The head accountant would soon retire and had promised to hand over her position to Irina. And now When Ivan arrived and requested Irina's hand in matrimony, Mother was delighted. An engineer, not just any laborer, they experienced a joyous and boisterous wedding. The director granted them the keys to the apartment from the old inventory, but what does it matter? Following a honeymoon in the southern region, the young couple returned rested, joyful, and tanned. They resided in love and harmony. However, time elapsed, and they were unable to conceive. Irina underwent an examination. The medical professionals mentioned that it is too early to make conclusions, and they need to be patient and wait. Nothing will adopt a child from the orphanage, Ivan reassured, but Irina didn't even want to contemplate it. She dreamt of giving birth herself, and a year later she relented. Let's adopt a child from the orphanage, she proposed one night. Ivan remained silent for an extended period, and subsequently, to his spouse's astonishment, expressed his unwillingness to raise someone else's offspring. The following day, he abruptly purchased an automobile. Somebody sold it inexpensively, planning to acquire a new one. Irina felt offended by her spouse's lack of consultation. Why seek advice? We cannot find a more economical option. We will transport my mother to the country house, stated the husband. Recalling this discussion, Irina later believed that it marked the beginning, or, more precisely, the end of her contented family life. On one of his days off, Ivan took his mother to the countryside, intending to return by 8. However, he neither arrived at 9 nor at 10 in the evening, and he didn't respond to the phone. Later, a call came from an unfamiliar number, and a male voice informed that Ivan had met with an accident and was in a comatose state. Irina promptly rushed to the hospital, but Ivan never recovered from the coma and passed away a few days later. At least let me have a child, sobbed Irina at the funeral. 4 months later, a lovely young lady arrived holding a small parcel in her arms. It's Ivan's daughter. Accept it. Ivan claimed you had no kids, and he pledged to adopt her. How, Ivan? Irina asked in astonishment. Only once we had an encounter. When I informed him I was pregnant, he disallowed an abortion, guaranteeing to take the child after birth. You see how it turned out. It was too late for an abortion. And if Ivan's not here, I don't want her. If you won't take her, I'll give her to an orphanage, said the exhausted, beautiful woman. Irina reached out for the package. Not so hasty, the young lady turned away. Did I just carry her for 9 months, denying myself everything? I need money. Ivan promised. Irina handed over all the money she had left from her husband. The woman handed her the child's documents and departed. You should have obtained a receipt, a child's waiver, lately reprimanded her mother. When the funds deplete, she'll return. So she did, 16 years afterward. Irina convinced the doctor to grant her a release from the hospital, as if it was she who delivered her daughter. It wasn't without a bribe. She altered her apartment, relocated to another locality where no one recognized her. She didn't receive an expert evaluation. Above all, the kid's not at fault, and Ivan's departed. And Irina had a sense of determination in her life. And secondly, Ivan's friend corroborated everything. The girl grew up and became increasingly similar to her mother, but solely in appearance. At times, Irina discerned traces of Ivan in her features. Then her heart was filled with delight. Whoever witnessed Irina and Tanya together promptly remarked that mother and daughter are entirely dissimilar. She is in her father, Irina replied, and attempted to depart as soon as possible. However, those familiar with Ivan lifted their brows in astonishment. And that was their way of life until this day. Upon Tanya's return from school, Irina nourished her and expressed the need for a conversation. You look pale. Did the doctor arrive? Did they discover something severe? My daughter was concerned. No, I wish to discuss something else. Generally, Irina took a profound breath. You are not my daughter, or rather, a daughter, but not my biological one. I did not give birth to you. Are you delirious, Mom? Tanya asked, frightened. Your real mother arrived today, Irina said with bloodless lips and narrated everything. I would never have revealed this to you. However, she threatened to disclose it herself and demanded money. A substantial amount of money. I thought it would be better for you to learn the truth from me. She wants to take me away. Tanya asked thoughtfully. No, I told you, she wants money for her silence. 16 years ago, she entrusted you to me and asked for money in return. And did you? Her daughter was outraged. Affirmative. She threatened to depart from you on the boulevard, to cast you in a medical center, to hand you over to an orphanage. Your male parent perished, and I was left all by myself. He wouldn't permit her to undergo an abortion. He desired to bring you back to us after the delivery. However, he didn't have enough time to inform me about it. That's why I don't resemble you, Tanya uttered softly. May I catch a glimpse of her? She will arrive the day after tomorrow. Irina replied in an impassive tone. Tanya departed to her chamber. Irina did not catch up with her. Let her remain alone, contemplate. The following day, Tanya proceeded to school without a word to Irina. Her heart was prepared to burst in her bosom. Irina hurried around the flat, and then phoned Ivan's acquaintance. He at first declined, but then still furnished Irina Zoya's address. It turns out that she used to labor at the factory as well. The personnel department had her details. Despite her lingering weakness, Irina promptly approached her. She discovered the house swiftly. Gasping from rapid walking, agitation, and painful frailty, she rang the doorbell. Zoya opened the door, looking pale and untidy, with a cigarette in her mouth. She smelled of alcohol. Irina didn't immediately recognize her due to the absence of bold makeup. Did you bring the money? Zoya asked in an unfriendly manner, frowning, caught off guard. How did you find me? Give me the money and leave. Don't stare at me, she wheezed rudely. I don't have the money. I came to inform you that I revealed everything to Tanya. Don't attempt to blackmail me any further, Irina said. Well, get lost then. Zoya cursed obscenely and colorfully. Irina stepped back and hurried away. Throughout her journey, she ran as if she were being pursued. contemplating whether or not to disclose the truth to Tanya. She had no doubt that sooner or later her daughter would inquire about her mother. When her daughter returned home from school, Irina handed her a leaf with Zoya's address. "That's the place where your mother resides." Tanya remained standing for a moment with the leaf in her hands, gazing hesitantly at Irina, and departed. Irina didn't hinder her, didn't restrain her. Let all of this conclude earlier. I won't be able to feel fear every day and await Zoya's return, for Tanya to inquire about her. Irina pondered, fidgeting her fingers and nervously pacing around the apartment. And if she doesn't come back, she will. Zoya didn't request to see her daughter, didn't insist on seeing her, didn't threaten to take her away. She only desires money. Irina eased her mind with that reflection and waited for Tanya. Late in the evening, when she was worn out and had lost all hope for her daughter's return, she entered the apartment. Irina rushed out to her. Confused and furious, Tanya stood in the middle of the hallway. "Tanetka, what?" Irina managed to exhale and embraced her daughter. "Mother, she doesn't require me. She didn't adore her father either, merely slept with him. And when she got pregnant, she resolved to ask for money from him. And he provided her funds so she wouldn't have an abortion. Mother, pardon me?" Tanya sobbed into Irina's embrace. "I apologize. I provided you with the location because I knew you'd want to see her anyway. You'd be searching for her. I'd better right away. I cherish you. I cherish you very much. You're my daughter, the only one I love. Don't cry. She won't return again." Irina comforted her daughter, caressing her back. "And if she arrives?" Tanya pulled away and gazed at Irina. "Why? You know everything, and she has nothing else to extort me with. If she desired you back, she would have come much sooner. Let's go and have tea." They conversed into the night, embracing each other. Irina, yet lengthy, trembled from the phone calls, but Zoya never returned. She was unaware of her fate, and Tanya completed school, enrolled in the university, and in her final year, tied the knot. Hopefully, they would soon have grandchildren. Existence continued, the existence of the nearest and beloved individuals, mother and daughter.